Before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Where am I? A booming voice said. The room shifted, revealing it to be a sewer complex with a cage with a piece of paper with the kanji for seal on it. Inside the cage was something of legend, a being capable of causing tsunamis and smashing down mountains like they were piled pebbles with one swipe of its 9 massive tails. This was power incarnate. This was the Kyuubi no Kitsune. And how such a being became trapped in a cell. Well, oh shit, I remember now. I gave that human, Madara, I think. Yeah, Madara, that Sharingan power to start his own clan. Then he abuses it, controls me once, and made more little f. UCK ups aka descendants while he was at it. I got mad, and decided to end them to clear my name, and now I'm stuck here in the home of that bastard, sealed inside this human. He gave his contain a quick overview during his rant and realized something. This boy was no longer human. If that statue of a snake in the form of an S planted in the center of a pentagon and the power radiating from it was any indication. The power felt completely otherworldly and weird. There were words he couldn't read at all written all over it in a faint white glow. Then it hit him, literally. He remembered while he was being sealed. A meteor shower occurred and an object came out of the sky and smacked him in the head. He looked at the statue more and noticed what was in it. It was a baby, and according to the data he was getting suddenly he was a Kryptonian, a foreign being from another world. But said baby slowly faded away, as if he merged with the boy completely. The Kyuubi then paled. If that was the case, then he too was getting absorbed by the seal as the boy grew. He looked at his body to see its progression and almost turned transparent. 3 tails, 3 fucking tails were already gone. And number 4 just started. It had to do with the Kryptonian blood in him now. He was about to continue when saw movement outside of the cage. He looked down and saw his container for the first time and was unimpressed. The boy had the brightest blonde hair ever seen, and it was spiky in all directions. He had 3 whisker marks on each cheek, proof of him being his vessel. His eyes were the brightest blue in the world. It was like looking into Whirlpool Country's clearest beach waters. The boy looked up and whispered, "The Kyuubi, I thought he was dead." The beast chuckled and then addressed him. "No boy, no human, which by the way you're no longer are, could kill me. He could only seal me or any of my kind for that matter. Put 2 and 2 together and you're sealed inside of me, aren't you?" The boy asked. Kyuubi nodded. He was shaking now. Slowly he backed away from the cage until he hit a wall. He slid down and stared into space for a few minutes until he spoke again. "Shit, and I thought that I was Kyuubi itself. Stupid moment right there. Villager almost got me there. So why did you attack?" Kyuubi was stunned a little. The boy just accepted the fact that he was a container and didn't go crazy. The boy stared into the Dai Yokai's blood-red eyes. They were like open books to him. "My memories have been subconsciously locked away so that I don't go crazy and kill myself, if you're wondering why I haven't already. It's not that I could anyway." He muttered the last part, which Kyuubi caught. "What do you mean?" he asked, actually curious about the boy's status. "Why don't you have a look?" he said as he walked forward and closed his eyes. The Kyuubi placed one claw on his head. He thou GHT about what kind of person his vessel was. Probably some snot-nosed heir to a power-hungry family. He muttered as he peered into the boy's memories. At first they were okay. The 5-year-old boy whose name was now known as Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze was. Hold the fuck up. That Duce was his father. After his little moment he remembered where he was. The boy was taken care of by the Hokage sometimes. A few clan heads and Anbu Black Ops watched him as well. Kyuubi would remember the faces of the ones who helped the boy as they were considered precious to Naruto. But when he got to age 3, he was sent to a village orphanage, and all hell broke loose. And they have the audacity to call me a demon. Demons do not harm children under any circumstance. He was disgusted with the way this boy, a 3-year-old at that, was treated. They beat him, fed him little to no food. Hell, they even spat on him on occasion. One sick-ass female tried to him one time. No demon was ever this cruel, period. I mean, they did the whole torture thing and all, but never to children. It just wasn't right. But the weirdest thing was that no matter what they did to him, little to nothing happened to the boy. Anything less than a low A rank Just-U or Kinjustu would only leave a light scar. This was the work of his Yuki, demonic energy, and his new physiology. He became more durable, more capable than any human in existence. Kyuubi also learned that Naruto was self-sufficient. He didn't need to eat or sleep, he just chose to. Back to his memories, from what he observed, the bloody retards continued to attack him, even though he's not dying anytime soon because they believe that the boy was him. Well, in time that would be the truth, but that still didn't excuse them of their crimes. He was beginning to not like this third Hokage because he came soon after everything happened. Also, if Naruto was truly him, they would all be dead, and yet they continue to abuse him. Boy, no Naruto. You have shown resilience the likes of which I haven't seen since the last age of man. Even through all of this you continue, bro. Why do you stay here? Naruto opened his eyes and in a very sage-like manner he spoke. If cannot run, then walk. If you cannot walk, then crawl. But by all means keep moving. Quote was by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., not word for word. If I had given up, I'd be 6 feet under, even though it will take a lot to put me there. Besides, I have people who care for me here and I want to protect them. Before they knew it, the mindscape began to change. The once dark and wet sewer became a crystal fortress-like structure, with the giant pentagon statue in the center. Kyuubi then focused on his vessel. The boy was now a little taller than a 6-year-old, and had dirty blonde hair. It still defied gravity and was still spiky, just it was now to his shoulders. His whisker marks were now a little broader and his face a little more sharp. The biggest change was his eyes. They were a perfect mixture of blue and green. Now that he looked through the boy's memories and his new appearance, he thought about his next move. Right now the boy was asleep in a hospital room after he fainted, so he was safe for now. He couldn't go back to Makai because he'd be the laughing stock of the demon realm and bring shame to the Kitsune clan because of his defeat. If he tried to forcibly leave this boy's body, they would both die. So he sat there in the murky toe-deep water thinking about what to do, and then it came to him. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to die being absorbed by you in like 10 more years anyway, and you need to become strong enough to defend yourself and your precious people. So I will train you in the way of the shinobi and in my ways. But first you need to leave from here. For good or until you're strong enough will be your choice, but it's too risky to train here. We need to leave, and I know just the Kitsune that can help with that. And with that said, and he somehow possessed the boy's body, with permission of course, and snuck out of the room. When he was far enough to awaken his chakra, he then snuck into one of the many training ground that were nearby. He bit his thumb, did some hand signs and thought. Demonic summoning. Reika no Kitsune. A adult-size plume of smoke appeared, and before cubified Naruto stood what would be considered a rose among weeds. She stood at about 5 feet, 5 inches, had jet black hair that flowed down to just about where her waist in a single ponytail and deep violet-colored eyes. Her face was very angular, fox-like even. She wore a formal black yukata with golden lilies sewn right in. She had no shoes on either. What stuck out the most was her black and purple-tipped fox ears and 8 giant bushy tails. All in all, she was absolutely beautiful. She walked up to the boy and analyzed him, seeing who or what he was. When he felt a powerful Yuki source, she came to one conclusion. She bent down and whispered, Kyuubi-sama. The Biju-controlled boy chuckled as he saw her bewildered face of his second-in-command. He walked up to her and pecked her on the cheek, which caused her to blush. Yes, Reiheim, it is I, but I have been sealed away inside of this boy because of that wretch Madara. I am guilty as well because of my anger towards him. I have directly caused this boy's life to be a watered-down hell on earth. He then placed his index and middle finger on her forehead and channeled the boy's memories through her. When he was done, she was on her knees in tears. That's just wrong. How could they do such things? He's just a kid. My thoughts exactly, Reika. His will to keep going and that kind-heartedness alone has earned my respect. I need this boy to leave this world because I am merging with him. In 10 or 12 years I will cease to be, and he will take my place if he wishes. Reika gasps and hugs the shit out of him, saying things like don't go and things like that. Kyuubi hugs her back and calms her down. Look, Reika, we both knew this was coming. I'm getting old and acted like a complete idiot by attacking the village, so this will be an act of penance. I cannot trust him being alone or he will kill himself from the memories. Even though his mind is far more advanced than any human child I've seen, he's too smart for his own damn good. That is where you come in. You and I will open a rip through space and we'll go to some random ass realm where we'll teach him all that we know. We will be his family until we find one on the other side. So do you agree to help me? The Eight-Tails looked at her king and playfully smacked his arm, signaling that she wouldn't dare turn this offer down. Besides, I can get away from the paperwork until he decides to take the throne. So, let's do this. Kyuubi nodded and started doing hand signs faster than a mature Sharingan can see. About half an hour later the last sign was done. They both yelled. Demonic art. Dimensional gate open. A big black hole appeared in the clearing, making a lot of wind, but not sucking anything in. Reika looked around before nodding to Kyuubi. All right then, we leave now. They started walking towards the gate B. Utwar stopped when Kyuubi Naruto felt a familiar chakra signature. They turned around and standing there was Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage. Naruto, get away from her and come here. And you young lady, I don't know who you are, but why we're trying to kidnap this boy, he said, flooding the area with killing intent. Reika snorted at his feeble ki and released her own ki by 40%, and Arutobi and the Anbu that were with him all hit to the ground, barely able to lift themselves off the ground. Naruto, who was released by Kyuubi, walked up to his grandfather and sighed. Gigi, I can't stay here, the beatings, the hateful glares, constant belittlement, all of the lies. Sarutobi looked at him with a confused look. Naruto elaborated, if you're wondering what I meant, I'll fill you in. I know about the Kyuubi. Hell, I even know why he attacked. I trusted you. You knew I was smarter than most of the boys my age. Should I told you and proved it to you, and yet you kept this from me. Damn it, I deserve to know why I was treated the way I was. And I couldn't give a damn about your reasoning as to why you did it. I don't deserve this shit and I won't tolerate it anymore. I'm leaving this hellhole. I don't know when I'll come back. Hell, I don't even know if I'll come back at all. I just need to get away from it all. The aged man before him sighed in defeat. He knew of the boy's life. And he could honestly say that the boy didn't deserve the way he was treated. And he too, as reluctant he was to admitting it, he too was the cause of the boy's pain, even if indirectly as possible. He looked into Naruto now blue-green eyes. He sighed again, got on his knees and bowed to the boy, which was the first time the Anbu ever saw the Hokage do. Naruto, for what it's worth, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I had so much faith in the village that I was blinded by it, thinking that they would come to reason. But alas, I regretfully admit I was wrong. I can't force you to stay, seeing as you're a civilian. But I can, however, offer a proposal. Sarutobi then reached into his pocket and revealed 3 scrolls. One had a red trim, one had a green trim with a leaf symbol, and the last had a blue trim with clouds. These scrolls belong to your parents. They would have wanted you to have them. The leaf scroll is the basic Academy J, USTU and several advanced just you for when you're ready for them. The red one is your mother's, while the blue, your father's. If it's your wish, come back and try out for position as a shinobi when you get back. Believe when I say that I wanted nothing but the best for you, Naruto. If I hadn't done what I did, you would have assassins from Iwa and Kumo after you every day, and the villagers would have constantly tried to harm you. Know that everything I did was for you. Naruto nodded, not fully forgiving his surrogate grandfather, but was no longer mad at him. Reika walked up and grabbed the scroll, placing them in her kimono. Kyuubi then took back control from Naruto, much to the third's surprise and worry, and continued speaking. Sarutobi, the kid may be forgiving of you, but I'm sure as hell not. You fucked up big time. If you had given this boy a more stable home to begin with, he wouldn't be in this mess. And that shitty excuse of an apartment doesn't count. Hell, Nibby wouldn't use that thing for a litter box. He needed a family, and luckily, or unluckily for you, I plan to give him just that, a family. He will be the strongest being in this world and the next when I through with him. And I promise that he will return, if and only if he wishes to return. Goodbye, and hopefully, good riddance. And with that they walked into the void and disappeared. Sarutobi turned around and sighed. I seriously need a drink, and then I need to finally put these D's. Thank you Carlos Mencia for inventing this. I do not own. In their place in my village. Anbu, said Ninja quickly got after hearing their leader speak. Tomorrow, gather all council members. We need to have a little talk. The old cage received twin yes sir, before leaving. He looks at where the portal once was in size. Paperwork was going to be a fucking headache. Inside the portal, so, what's the plan Reika? Naruto asked as they floated through space at light speed. They were going over their plan for the other side, and what they would do when they got there. Well Naru-kun, Kyuubi-sama and I will be teaching you the shinobi arts. That's ninjutsu, genjutsu, taijutsu, kenjutsu, and even fuinjutsu. You may learn medical jutsu if you want to heal others. Also we'll teach you what's in the scrolls Sarutobi gave us. Then we will teach you how to use your yuki, or demonic energy, from small spells to advanced elemental manipulation. After that you will practice and develop your Kryptonian abilities. You will also learn the ways of this new world we're going to. We'll start from the cultures, to technology, religions, your pick. And finally whenever you're ready to leave you can recreate the portal and return to Konoha if you feel that they're ready. Naruto looked away when she said that. Obviously that place was still a sore spot for him. He still couldn't believe that what the old man kept him in the dark like that for so long. No matter what the reason, it was his life and he need to know a thing about it that he didn't. He brushed those negative thoughts aside when they suddenly touched down on a patch of dirt. He, Kyuubi, who manifested into a small fox made of chakra, and Reika were in what appeared to be a field. There were giant stalks of corn everywhere. They needed something to attract Somio. Nay to them so they could find civilization somewhere. Reika put her hand on her hips and walked around. Naruto closed his eyes and crossed his arms. Kyuubi, well he just stared into space. A few minutes they all had a grin that would be infamous for years to come. A little farther down the road, an old red pickup truck was coming down the street, the sound of a guitar playing and a female voice singing. The woman had red hair cascading down her back, while the man that was driving had dirty blonde short hair. These were the Kent family, local farmers of Smallville, Kentucky. They were just coming from the city, getting some supplies. They were halfway down the road when suddenly, a loud explosion was heard. The force was so great that it made the truck lose control. Jong was able to gain control just enough to stop in the middle of the road. Sighing in relief he looked into the eyes of his wife Martha, who was just fine, albeit a little mixed up. Have any idea what that was? He asked. Martha shook her head no. He sighed again. Thought so. Let's go see. He reached behind him and picked up a shotgun and with his wife behind him, he walked towards whatever it was. They reached where the most damage was done and was stunned by what they saw. A blonde-haired boy and a black fox. Yeah. A black fox was in the center of a giant crater. Martha ran down and picked the boy and kid up, wraps her sweater around them and started to rock them back and forth, allowing her maternal instincts to kick in. John, we can't leave them here, can we? She asked. John looked at his distraught wife and then the child, who appeared to be fine, besides the dirt and debris. But he looked at least 5, maybe 6. Where were his parents? Why was he in a crater? Why was that weird-colored fox with him? Why was he asking himself all of these questions? Hell no, we'll put him in a bed, get some food in his gut before we ask him about what happened to him. They looked at the crater again before turning around and getting back into their truck. This is where the legend of Naruto Uzumaki, shinobi, scholar, and the hero of which the worlds have ever seen would be born. Time skip. 12 years later. If one word could describe Naruto's life here with the Kent family, it would be sweet. The Kent family adopted Naruto after he lied, saying that he was wandering around and got caught in an unknown explosion. He said that he had no family but Reika-chan, his pet fox. Reika in her mind blushed at the Chan added to her name and Kyuubi laughed. For the last 15 years he learned all of the ninja arts in the scrolls his parents left him, and all the techniques Kyuubi and Reika taught him. He was high chunin in genjutsu, B-classed in demonic illusions by age 7. Low cage in ninjutsu, borderline S class in demon arts by age 8.5. Cage in stealth, Cage in intellect due to Kryptonian intellect, Daiukai in demon realm politics by age 10. Cage in his Taijutsu style, Hakuto Shinken, Fist of the North Star by age 11. Anbu in medical justu, B class in both human and demon anatomy by age 13. Mid-Junin in Kenjustu, Koken no Mai, Dance of the Guardian by age 13. Level 4 Seal Expert, B rank Demon Seal Artist by age 15. Final level Kitsune Sage by age 16. Advanced Elemental Manipulation, Semi-Bending by age 17. And finally his Kryptonian abilities developed. The statue in his mindscape was the ship the baby Kryptonian came in. It taught Naruto how to use his powers when they surface. Super Strength lifted his father's tractor at age 11. Super Speed outran a boy with a red hoodie with a lightning bolt on it, guess who, that had super speed at age 9. Visual enhancements, X-ray, electric spectrum, microscopic, telescopic and heat vision. Between ages 12 and 14. Superhuman stamina, almost godlike because of Kyuubi at age 14. Regeneration cut his finger off. By the time they ran to the hospital, it grew back. At age 8, invulnerability got into a car accident, everything but him got dented age 16. Self-sufficiency can still eat and sleep, it's just not required for him age 5. Flight accidentally drives off a cliff, falls out of the car, and stops it in mid-air age 17. He also read the letters that his parents left for him. His mother, Kushina, died from extreme blood loss during his birth. He began to blame himself, but Reika squashed that idea, saying that his mother would never blame you for what happened to her and reassured him that she loved him. The letters from his father, who turned out to be the fourth Hokage himself, was a different story. For 5 years the boy hated the man. He basically gave his life and the life of his family for a piece of land. The note said that he had no other way, and not a day went by that he would forever regret what he did. 5 years after the letter he forgave his San, even though he didn't like his ideology. He and Reika, much to Kyuubi amusement, started a budding relationship between each other. They always blushed around one another, and even flirted a few times. His non-shinobi, sage life was enjoyable. He had 2 best friends, Chloe and Pete, and many more around the country. Both John and Martha were eventually told everything about Naruto, everything. Poor Naruto cried himself to sleep when he told them at 16. The Kents were sad, glad, angry, and scared all at the same time, but accepted him nonetheless. They told him that he would always have a home here. Then, at age 17, Naruto's training was complete. He had graduated Smallville High with honors and got an academic scholarship to any college of his choice. He also had completely absorbed Kyuubi's Yuki, making him the new demon lord. But because of this, Kyuubi was slowly fading away into the next life. Reika cried hard on Naruto's shoulders while he let out a silent tear. The last thing Kyuubi said to his student, little brother, will remember your training. My legacy lies with you now. Don't fuck it up, and also, trust in your heart and in your beliefs, for they will guide you to your purpose in this world. Oh, and Reika-chan, you seriously need to tell him. Naruto looked confused while Reika blushed a deep red. Kyuubi gave a howl into the blue moon and disappeared into the void. The next day, all of Kyuubi's Yuki was absorbed and it became his, making him a half-breed. Now we see our soon-to-be hero in walking down the street to his job at Jump City. Reika was at the apartment cleaning up, and Mr. and Mrs. Kent would call every now and then to check up on them. Everything was fine and dandy, that is until an alarm went off. He looked around and sees the bank being robbed. Gunshots were heard and people were scrambling to safety. He decided to do something about it. He uses his super speed to dash into an alleyway and unclips his briefcase. This was the moment he was waiting for, to finally show what a hero can do. Inside was a pair of black no-heeled boots and a one-piece suit. The suit was blood red and black. The outlining was black while the pentagon with the S in the center was blood red as well. Where the hand would be there were finger holes. There were also sliver bulbs on his arms used for tags and seals. He had a silver cape with a hood. He also wore a black face mask that covered up everything but his eyes and mouth. He placed his belongings in a wall he hollowed out, looked around, and blasted straight into the air, creating a sonic boom. The three men in the black Ford Fusion was speeding down the street, almost hitting people in other cars that were passing by. They shot at the police cars that were behind them. They ever paid attention to the dot in the sky that was getting closer and closer until, boom, a giant shockwave, courtesy of Naruto's foot hitting the engine, caused the men in the car to fly out. They all got up to see the now intimidating figure. One of the idiots decides to punch him out of the way, only to hit an iron jaw. Poor man's finger cracked like eggs. Naruto inhaled and blew out a blue mist. The moment the man came into contact with it, he was frozen solid. The second robber had a gun aimed for the mystery man's head. He fired off a round. Said bullet became flat upon impacting his forehead. That man tried to run. Keyword, tried. Naruto grabbed his head and flicked it hard, making the man run into a pole, knocking him out. The last man somehow got hold of a hostage. Back off or she dies. Don't be a dummy, he yells. Naruto only smirked and continued to walk forward. Kami, this place is filled with idiots. And the only dummies I see are you, and the one you're holding. The man looked down and true enough there was a mannequin was in his arms. He looked up to see Naruto setting a girl down on the sidewalk. Naruto winks at her, causing her to blush, and disappears in a blur. The last robber looked frantically around, searching for the masked man. Just who the hell are you? He turned around to see the white eyes of Naruto's mask. Naruto then let out some ki and chakra and immediately the man shitted on himself. Naruto then picked up the man by his collar and said, I am the guardian of this city. I'm its sword and shield. I uphold the laws and punish those who break them. I am more than just a man. He then hovered over the ground, floats to the now parked car, bends down and picks it up without effort. Then flips it, and flings it into the ground, making a crater. But I do need a name. Well, I guess you can call me Superman. Somewhere a street away, 5 teens were perched on a building, watching what transpired down below. There were 3 boys and 2 girls. The first boy wore a short cape with black on one side and yellow on another. He wore a red vest with AR in a black circle stitch on it. He also green skin-tight pants with matching elbow-lengthed gloves. To finish it off he had black steel-toed boots and a mask that covered his eyes. The first girl had a purple cloak with hood over her head. Closer inspection revealed a pale, short-haired girl with a red crystal on her forehead, think from current Teen Titans outfit. The next was a tall man, or machine, it was confusing. Most of his body besides the right side of his face, his right eye, nose and mouth were replaced with technology. The final girl had very red hair, with a tan darker than Naruto's. She wore a purple miniskirt. Leg-lengthed boots. She also had silver arm warmer that covered all of her arm besides her fingers and shoulders. Her eyes were glowing green. The final young man had green skin and green hair. His hair was very short, had fangs protruding from the top of his mouth. He wore a black and purple one-piece leotard, with matching shoes and gray gloves. Yo Cyborg, did you see that? Asked the green boy. Cyborg nodded and looked to his right. Yeah, Beast Boy, what do you think, Robin? He asked. Robin continued to look at Naruto as he uses the substitution Jew stew on a girl with a mannequin and chuckles. He's good with dealing with thugs, but the guys we face are on a whole nother level. The girl in purple sighs as she float closer to Robin. We must be weary of him. He sends off a weird aura, like it's not native here. Raven said as he looks at the almost orange skin-colored girl. Starfire. He's an alien, like me, but he feels familiar, like I've met his kind before. Follow Raven's advice for now and be weary of him. They all nodded and disappeared, not noticing the faint white eyes behind them. Naruto grinned that grin again as he got the memories of that blood clone he made to check on the spies that were watching him. Fans already, and heroes like me. I'm honored. Well then, let's see if I can get their attention. Naruto flew through the night sky, thinking about the events that occurred. It had been 3 weeks since he donned the alias of Superman and he's already the talk of the town. He already too. K-down local troublemaker Billy Numerous. That fight was interesting to say the least. It ended with 100 clones of Billy running from an army of Supermen courtesy of the shadow clone Justu. His first acts as a superhero, and he were already being watched, and by the Teen Titans no less. Everyone he knew in Jump City kept telling him about them. There was Robin, former sidekick of Batman. Cyborg, a mechanical miracle turned powerhouse. There was Beast Boy, the local shapeshifter and former member of the Doom Patrol. The mysterious sorceress Raven, a pale beauty with deadly magic. And finally Starfire, an alien like himself that's a representation of happiness made flesh. These 5 met under certain circumstances and became the heroes of this town. Humph. IGU. They were checking out the competition. Or maybe looking for a new recruit. Don't know, don't care at this point. Naruto said to himself as he landed on the tip of a skycar. He reached out with his super hearing to trying to decipher the various noises. A few minutes pass before he hears an explosion, 20 minutes from his location. His telescopic vision kicks in and sees and bolts of lightning coming from a power plant. A little grin made it to his face, thinking that this was going to be boring night before this happened. With a short breath, he free falls towards the ground before pulling up, scaring those who watched as he came down. A few minutes later, he land in front of the plant and can clearly see a figure in the center of the towers, touching them. Hey, get away from there, he screamed, but his words fell on deaf ears. There was a second explosion. The smoke cleared and revealed 2 figures. One was clearly not human. He was about 7 feet tall, and made completely out of stone. His teeth were that of a jack-o'-lantern and his eyes were red. The next figure was a young woman, probably 21 or 22. She had blue skin, light blue eyes with no pupil, and her hair was electric blue and stood straight up in spikes. She had on a one-piece suit that was midnight blue and had a white lightning bolt on its center. Well, I feel refreshed. You got the power cells right, Cinderblock? The woman asked the humanoid. Cinderblock grunted and nodded his head, which should have been impossible seeing as he didn't have a neck. Woman smiled and proceeds to gather electricity from her hand. Before she could slam them onto the ground, another pair of gloved hands stopped them. The woman looked up and stared into the face of our main character. Mind telling me what a girl like you is doing in a place like this? And with that fellow, I might add, Naruto said. She looked back at Cinderblock, who was ready to fight. The girl smiled at him and said, I'm just getting what's mine. The name's Livewire, by the way. Superman, and what exactly would be yours? He asked. His answer was a bolt of lightning hitting him in the face and sending him into a wall. The girl's posture straightened and she walked towards the downed hero. He looked at her handiwork, only to scowl as she saw a toy dog in the man's place. Wow, almost burned my mask off there, and we can't be having that. She almost gave herself whiplash from how fast she turned around. There right in front of her was the man she thought she hit square in the face. Said hero was wiping the dust and smoke from his face. He was about to say something else when there was a rumbling sound. That sound grew louder and louder until it was in Superman's ear. Cinderblock charged at the masked man with enough force to tear down a building wall. What astonished him and the girl was the fact that this Superman stopped him with one hand. He looked at Cinderblock's confused look with an impassive one before he cocked his left foot back and kicked the poor guy across the field. Livewire was sweating bullets. Her plan to get the power cells to her employer were almost ruined by some random guy. Well, that was rude of him. As I was saying, what exactly is it that you want with this plant? And don't lie to me, I detest hitting women. But I will make exceptions if the circumstances are met. His face was still impassive, which pissed Livewire off to no end. Cinderblock watched as she charged at him with multiple lightning blasts that Naruto dodged, not wanting to give away all of his powers. She then focused on a construction robot. She made a blue sphere of thunder and threw it at the robot, activating it. Its giant eye glowed blue before walking towards Naruto. That's none of your business. But now you have to go, she screamed, drawing the attention of the Titans, who got there the moment the robot activated. Robin looked at Cinderblock, then Livewire, Naruto and the robot. Beast Boy, Raven, you guys come with me and help stop Cinderblock from escaping. Cyborg, Starfire, stop that robot. Titans, go, and with that they all scattered. Meanwhile Naruto was staring into the face of the robot, comically shaking in his boots. "Oh God, I giant robot, whatever should I do?" he said before he busted out laughing. Starfire was a little taken back. The robot didn't move and Cyborg's sweat dropped. Livewire was seething. "Grr. I'll show you, you bastard. Kill him." He robot complied and smashed his hand into the ground where Superman was. Cyborg was about to fire his sonic cannon when he saw Naruto pick up the robot with his both hands and smash it into the ground, face first. He then turns to Cyborg, who was imitating a fish, and Starfire, who was drooling slightly. Naruto noticed this and Livewire getting away, so he walked up to Duo and snapped his fingers at them, bringing them out of their stupor. The villainess is getting away, so I'll get her while you guys take care of Buckethead there. I kind of have an issue with cowards." Then he just disappeared. No dust. No after image. Nothing. He just vanished. "Okay. Come on, Star. We got a rabid machine to stop," Cyborg said, getting out of his stupor. Starfire nodded and flew above the machine's head, ready to strike at a moment's notice. While she was in the air, she looked at where Naruto was trying to wrap her finger around what type of alien was he. She swore that she met one of his species before, but couldn't pinpoint it. Her musing was interrupted when a giant boulder was coming her way. She charged her power and fired a giant star bolt, destroying the mass of Earth. "Yo, Starfire, get in the game. I'm out here by myself, you know." "Ah, right, somewhere down the street. Gotta think of something, quick." That was the mantra Livewire used. She flew for her life from the masked hero. She remembered that he called himself Superman, and from what he did to that robot she could see why he was called that. There was no way she stood a chance against him, especially since Cinderblock is tied up with the Titans. She had to move. She stopped when she flew over the main tower of the city, where it got most of its electricity. She grinned evilly. This will be more than enough to fry Super Fag." Superman watched as she blasted a hole into the city's main plant, flying in soon after. "What is that crazy girl doing? And did she just call me a fag? And a super fag at that?" he said to himself as he flew in behind her. He used his stealth training to search for her and not get caught. He eventually found her where the energy cells were. She appeared to be absorbing the power from them and adding them to her own. Her skin became bluer while her hair and eye became whiter. When she was done, her body appeared to be made out of pure lightning. Little sparks were surging from her eyes while she laughed. "Now this is what I call power," she yelled as she flexed her new muscles. She was about to leave when she heard his voice. "Great, I got to deal with a girl who's a coward and a power-hungry shrew. Whoopee." Superman then casually walks up to her with a bored look on his face. "If you looked under his mask. Now that you're all juiced up, I guess I have to rough you up a bit." Livewire gave him a confused and worried look. With the power surging through her, she could level 1/5 of downtown. "But he's acting like that doesn't matter." Look at me. I have enough power here to run the city for days. What makes you think that someone pathetic as you could ever hope of beating me?" Large bolts of lightning were now flying from her hands. Naruto looked bored, but on the inside was a little angry. She didn't know that she was giving jabs at Naruto's demon pride, and calling him weak was a big no to him. He cleared his throat to get her attention. He then floated to her level and removed the plates that covered his eyes. She then looked into his ice blue eyes. Eyes that could freeze hell over. Eyes that could make a seasoned soldier break down. The ki that was radiating from Naruto caused Livewire to power down, making her form darker and more controlled. If she wasn't so scared right now and looked closely at Naruto's eyes, you would see them beginning to see his iris slowly going from blue to red. "As I've said, now that you're considered a threat, I'm going to have to rough you up a bit, but this can be avoided if you surrender." Naruto's gaze didn't falter and Livewire was adopted a cocky grin. "Right, besides, you said that you don't hit girls anyway, so She didn't get to finish that sentence because a giant water ball collided with her body, forcing her through a wall and onto the busy streets. She looked around and saw Superman gently float down with a blob of water in his hand. "You're right. I don't hit girls much. But as you have just experienced, I didn't hit you, the water did." Water style. Water dragon Justu. The water then formed a dragon's head and was fired straight at Livewire. She dodged and attempted to retaliate with a projectile of her own, but nothing came out. Now she was scared, wondering what happened. She tried again. And again nothing. Naruto, still in shinobi mode, chuckled at her predicament. You haven't figured it out yet. You can't generate electricity because you're drenched in water. In reality, you should have been electrocuted, but I guess you body subconsciously turned your powers off to prevent that. Now she understood, but was even angrier than before. How could this random guy have beaten her, when even the Titans had a hard time with her? She couldn't answer that because she was now stuck in place. She looked down to see that her feet were encased in ice. Naruto could only watch as she tried miserably to get out of the ice, only for the ice to creep up her leg. Now furious, the Electromancer tried to summon her power again, but this time it worked. She broke from the icy trap and flew into the air, a contrail of electricity left behind her. She was so busy flying that she didn't even notice Naruto tailing her. As she traveled farther away, she began to power down and began to slowly descend. Being encased in ice for so long caused her body to try and warm itself up. Because of that, she began to weaken. Before she got to the 10th level of an apartment complex, she began to plummet towards the busy streets. People, in their ignorance, were watching as she came crashing down. They would be waiting for a long time, for a blue and white splat on the pavement, because Superman caught her just in time. Sigh, it's always the crazy ones, isn't it? He asked no one in particular. He hovers over the police station, and with a now emotionally tired out Livewire in his arms, he walks towards one of the officers who were outside at the time. Make sure that she stays asleep. And with that, Superman flew towards where Livewire came from, wanting to know exactly what they were trying to steal. Back at the construction site, while that was happening, we find the Titans all over the place. Through teamwork and a giant star bolt by Starfire, the construction robot finally fell, but not without throwing them around like rag dolls for a little bit. Beast Boy had transformed into a beagle and had his tongue out. Cyborg was on his hand and knees, breathing heavily. Raven was against the wall with her hood down. Robin, who was used to doing this with Batman, was more okay than the rest. Starfire was nowhere to be seen. Well, that was annoying, Rave said out of the blue. Cyborg had finally gotten up and walked towards B. B, you go that right. Yo BB, you see where Cinderblock went? 'Cause for a living boulder, he can move. Beast Boy moved his head up and spoke. Too tired, need to breathe. Cyborg sighed and looked at their leader. What about you, Raven? Slowly Raven got up and concentrated, quickly spreading her senses, trying to find her target. According to her, everyone in the world has a wavelength, a reading of energy that defines them as well, them. She arched until she saw an outline of Cinderblock running towards the main tower, where Livewire and Superman was. He's close. If we move now we could catch him, but I don't think we should. He's going towards Superman's direction. Everyone thought about it and sighed. Things were going to be all right, and Superman could take care of himself if he ran into Cinderblock again. Robin finally looked in the direction of the tower. Either way, we better get over there and at least capture him. Once you've gotten yourselves together, regroup and head for the tower. As her team was talking, Starfire was staring at nothing in particular, thinking about our masked ninja superhero. Only one word popped up in her mind when she thought about him. Kryptonian. So the stories mother told me were true. There really were survivors. When she was younger, mother, the queen of her home planet Tamaran, would tell her stories about the Kryptonians. According to her, they were men and women of science, and had no real warriors to speak of. That is until they felt the light of the yellow sun. Once they were under a yellow sun for one reason or another, they were the great same thing to come out of the universe since sliced bread. But something happened that made their world explode, taking everyone with it. They say that there were no survivors, but her mother thought otherwise. One day, they would rise once again, and for better or for worse, would change the world. That is what my mother told me. But I thought they were just that, stories to lull me and my sister to sleep. She would have continued to discuss this with herself if Cyborg hadn't shook her out of her thoughts. Starfire. Hey Starfire, wake up. She looked around and found herself staring into Cyborg's robotic eye. Slightly blinded, She moved from him and looked toward Superman's direction. Forgive me, my friend. I was remembering something my mother told me a long time ago. Robin and Raven look worried. They had never seen their friend this distracted before. Okay, they have, but not during a mission. Beast Boy looked confused as usual and Cyborg looked indifferent. Okay, well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna go find out more about this, Superman. See what he's all about. He then got up and began sprinting toward the main tower. BB had started running as well. I'm with Cy on this one. This Superman dude seems cool. He transformed into an eagle and flew off. Raven sighed annoyingly and grabbed Robin and Starfire. She too was interested in know who this guy was. But she didn't want to admit it. So she then said, come on you two. I'm going to need help keeping those two from talking the poor guy's ears off before we can ask him some questions. On top of that, you know full well that they can't be trusted by themselves. Remember the pizza run of last year? Both Robin and Starfire shuddered at the memories. They couldn't eat pizza for weeks after that. If you had paid attention, you could see Raven giving a little smirk, one of the few, and I mean few, little leaks of emotions she exhibits. They began walking before Rave created a portal of darkness and they all disappeared. None of them noticed a man watching all that transpired here in the construction site. He had on an outfit that was one part black, the other part orange. His mask was the same, with only his left eye showing. If this Superman has caught the eyes of the Titans, then he may be of use to me. He then began to speak into a device strapped onto his right arm. Be ready to deploy the Hive graduates by 1,500 hours, 3 o'clock military time. If you didn't know, they have their first mission. It had been a week since Naruto defeated Livewire and Cinderblock. Robin and the rest of the Teen Titans had given him a chance to join them. Instead of accepting immediately, Naruto decided to wait a week before he gave his answer. Now, they ask why, and he answered, all things come to those who wait. You guys are no exception. So they agreed to wait for his answer. Those 7 days went by fast. Reika was a little perturbed, because they would have to move again. She had just gotten comfortable in their new condo, but now they would have to pack up and move all over again. And like a certain Nara would say, it was troublesome. Look, I don't know what you're worried about. I haven't even given my answer yet. I might not, Naruto said as he got out of the shower. All he wore was a wet towel. Reika sighed happily before responding. I know, Naru-kun, but I just want you think this through. You know you won't be able to accept mercenary missions anymore, as you'll be watched. Naruto was now in his Superman wardrobe. He was about to place his mask on before he turned back around and kissed Reika suddenly, causing her to blush considerably. He always loved doing that. Reika had finally found the courage to tell Naruto about her feelings for him, and to be honest, he felt the same way about her. They've been together since Kyuubi's departure. Also, there was an incident, but we'll get to that later. I understand Reihime, but I want to get some teamwork under my belt before I head back to Konoha in a year's time. He decided that he would go back to his home village. They deserved a chance to redeem itself, and stop the ones that are after others like him. So he decided that he would leave in a year's time. Just as he thought about kissing Reika again, he turns around just in time to see a green pterodactyl being thrown into a building, the glass from the windows shattering on impact. I guess that I'll get to give them my answer sooner than I thought. Okay, Reika, I need you to start packing and seal the furniture. Then I want you to use the shadow clones to help evacuate the resident of this building and the nearby ones. If this battle goes down south, Theseus buildings won't be safe anymore. He jumped through the window, plummeting towards the pavement, before he rose up, ascending into the air. The black-haired Kitsune girl just looked at the sky and smiled. He's grown up into a fine young man, Naruto. You would be proud of him, Kyuubi-sama. She cracked her knuckles before summoning 5 centiliters. Ones to start sealing the furniture before she began running around the complex, telling the residents to escape. She didn't notice a camera in her cupboard, and when she did it would be too late. On the streets, now if you were there, a resident of Jump City, you wouldn't believe what you would be seeing at this very moment. All of the Titans looked worse for wear. Cyborg had a few pieces of him missing, and his red eye, as I call it, was damaged, so he was half blind. Starfire and Raven had a bad case of bed hair and their clothes were tattered. Only a few thread held up their outfits. Robin's mask was nearly ripped in half. His cape was gone. His bike, it looked like a pile of scraps threw up another pile of scraps, and then that pile of scraps took a shit. That's what you would describe what was left of his bike. Beast Boy was left with no shoes, a sleeveless shirt. His pants were ripped apart from the knees down. Oh, did we mention that he had a hell of a lot of glass in his back from getting his ass shoved into a building. Together, they looked like they just got out of a blending machine. Now who could possibly do all of that besides our blonde protagonist? Well, lucky for you readers out there, the culprits were standing right in front of them, admiring their handiwork. Humph, so these are the famous Teen Titans. Huh, they're nothing but a bunch of green-horned brats, the giant said, cracking his knuckles. He wore a black and gold one-piece with a pair of black steel-toed boots. He had orange unruly hair and a very rugged and messed-up beard. This man was known as Mammoth, and the name fitted like a snuggie. He possessed massive strength. I know, right? These snotfuckers can't hold a candle to us. The voice came from a little boy in a green jumpsuit. He was bald-headed and had black goggles over his beady little eyes. He would be considered short, but no one in their right mind would go up in his face and tell him that. Why? Well, you really couldn't reach his face because he was suspended about 7 feet in the air by 4 spider-like legs that came from out of his backpack. This was the evil boy genius, Gizmo. With his intelligence, he can invent anything for any situation. Oh, and did I mention that he had a very colorful vocabulary? Mammoth had given the boy some dap, while their third member shook her head and sighed, which got the other two's attention. This girl was about as tall as Raven and had a similar fashion of clothing. She wore a dark purple shirt and skirt, black stockings, silver shoes. Her skin was a pale purple, had amethyst purple eyes and pink hair that was fashioned into 2 short horns. This was the apparent leader of the little group. Her name was Jinx. She had knack for using curses and kinetic shockwaves. Together they made the most promising agents from the Hive Academy. It's a school that literally breeds bad guys. You guys seriously need some help. Now shut up and focus. We need to cause enough damage to drive him out. That's our main objective, she said in a serious tone. Gizmo and Mammoth both adopted serious expressions as well. Their mission was simple enough. A monkey in a suit could do it, cause enough mayhem to draw both Superman and the Teen Titans. Mainly Superman, as he's a major threat. It was supposed to be easy mission, right? Anyway, now we see the Titan congregating, thinking up a conversation. Man, this is stupid. How are we losing 5-3? Cyborg asked while trying to repair his right eye. Damn, that Gizmo punk is good with tech. I might be in trouble here. As soon as you find out, Cyborg, let me know, okay? I still picking glass out of my damn back. BB yelled, earning a slap in the back of the head by Raven. Watch your language, Gar. You may be an animal, so to speak, but that doesn't mean you get to talk like that. Raven and Beast Boy had developed a brother-sister relationship since the Titans came together. Raven had always scolded and disciplined BB when he cursed. Robin pinched his nose in annoyance. I sure hope Superman decides to join us. We need as much help as we can get. Focus, everyone. We've got to find a way to beat these guys back without the public getting involved. Robin yelled as he threw a boomerang. Jinx just smirked as she threw a hand up. A purple arc of energy appeared and connected with the projectile. The result? It went completely off course and smacked into a bystander, rendering him unconscious. Everyone's sweat dropped and Jinx laughed at him. Oops, a little bad luck on your part, one guess. Before anyone could respond, everyone heard a sonic boom. The force of the phenomenon caused everyone to stagger. Some bystanders even fell. People looked around, but couldn't see any jets. Then they felt it. A massive pressure came down upon the Hive agents and the Titans. The best way to describe how I felt would be like if God came out of nowhere and suddenly began to push on top of your head. This time both groups did drop to the ground. The Hive kids felt it more than the Titans though. They looked around again, trying to find the source of the pressure. When they did, time kind of stopped a little bit. For the cause of the power surge was none other than Superman, and he looked pissed. The shields that usually protect his eyes were down, showing his glowing red eyes, the demon blood in him boiling. You could literally feel anger oozing from him. He descended upon the groups, but continued to hover over the street. As you can see, and probably feel, I'm pissed right about now. You numbnuts interrupted my well-earned break time, and that was a fatal mistake. So before I go apeshit on you, I'm gonna go ahead and ask, who threw I'll be calling Beast Boy BB for short into a building? No one moved. You could hear an ant take a piss, that's how quiet it was. Mammoth, being the fucking idiot he was, decided to get cocky and raised his hand. The fucking Nimrod doesn't know what's about to happen to him. PWNAGE alert everyone. Superman looks at the dead man walking inside. Figures. Okay, that's one ass whopping coming up. He then disappeared and reappeared again with a purple ball of energy in his hand. It looked like a mini maelstrom inside of it. Deuces, Rasengan. The orb of death came into contact with the Goliath, who was too scared to even dodge by the way. For a moment, all you heard was a grinding noise. Then, it got worse, far worse. The ball began to expand and shred, turning skin into stringy material, organs into must and bones into dust, before he was surrounded by that same energy. Superman then pushed forward, causing the orb to go forward and into an abandoned building, which fell down upon impact. Jinx, Gizmo and the Titans all stared at Superman and the place where the building used to be. Then back at Superman again, and then again at the building. This went for about 15 seconds until they were brought out of their stupor by the most unlikely person to do so. Damn, now right here is where the audio of a record player being stopped would play. Everyone turned to Starfire, all with eyes the size of dinner plates. Star herself was now confused. What, was it something I said? For those who don't know Starfire personally, you wouldn't know that she was very formal and well-mannered. Her English improved over the 3 years of her being here, and not once has she cussed at anyone. For any reason whatsoever. So to hear her cuss was a very foreign occurrence to the Titans. BB shook his head and looked back at what was left of the building Mammoth was under. He turned into a T-Rex and had dug the now unconscious man from the debris. Okay, he's not getting back up. What do we do with him? Robin responded by tying him to a tree that was in the park they were near. Gizmo smacked his head, mumbling about hairy-ass butt-munching fucktards and whatnot. That walking tub of stupid got his ass caught. Fuck him. Let him rot in jail for all care. Let's just get this cruddy mission done and over with. The pack that was on Gizmo's back began to transform into a giant barrel with wires and an energy cell connected to it. Then massive amounts of light began to gather within the chamber before boom. A giant wave of energy was unleashed. Think of the Pokemon attack flash cannon. Superman looked at the energy blast coming at him with a glint in his eyes. You know, that look that people give when they're about to do something funny, or crazy, or a combination of both. As the blast gets ever so closer, Superman raised his right hand, poised to stop the attack. Now one of two things could happen. A. He knocks the blast out of his way. B. He sends it back to where it came from. Or C. He takes the hit. Finally the blast connected with his hand and a giant explosion happened. After the smoke and the dust cleared, there was Superman, standing there unharmed, with a giant blue orb of electricity in his hand. Okay, that blast was made of mainly electricity and plasma, nothing too serious. Now let's see if I can still do this. He then winds his hand back and lets the energy ball fly. Lightning style. Grand discharge. This time, the attack moved twice as fast as the previous one. Gizmo had no time to react, block, dodge, nothing. All you saw was a giant wave of lightning flying toward the construction site. If you listened closely you could hear Gizmo screaming. Screw it. As everyone looked at the contrail, Superman started laughing. He started slapping his knee. Hot damn, I still got it. Feels like senior year at Smallville High all over again. Everyone's sweat dropped. Did he not notice that there were other people there? Jinx looked at her situation. Mammoth was arrested. Gizmo was a few miles away by now, and coincidentally he went toward their rendezvous point. And now she was outnumbered 6-1. So she did what would be the logical decision. She ran her ass off. With Superman and the Titans on her heels. Looks like I've got no choice. The Titans were supposed to be dealt with before Superman got here. But no matter, they'll be taken care of soon enough, she said to herself, but with Superman's enhanced hearing, he picked up what she had said. Yo Robin, keep an eye out on where we're going. Little Miss Emo over there's plotting something. Robin nodded and relayed the message to everybody else. As they chased Jinx, Superman noticed that they were in yet another construction site. But this one was a little different from the last one. This one had a lot of construction robots in for one. And it was a giant crater with a lot of openings. My sixth sense is going off. I might need to take a closer look around. Superman activated his X-ray vision, and what he saw made him worried. Holy shit, that's a lot of androids. This looks like it could be fun. Hold on. Sniff sniff, I smell humans in the mix. Let me see. Oh fuck me. Not that a-hole. Slade. I should have guessed that this crazy fuck had something to do with this. Hey guys, look alive. It's a trap. But the warning was a little too late. Overhead light had suddenly come on, and one by one android had come out of the openings within the crater. They all looked alike. White slanted pupil-less eyes, a black K-mask with an orange oval covering their facial area, gun-gray hands and shin guards that went up to the calf area of their legs. If I could guess, there are about 300 plus androids here, and then there's Slade. The Titans looked a little worried. They've never had to fight this many enemies before. And add Slade, a problem opponent since the beginning, their odds were a little low. What info he had and personal experience Superman had with this guy, he was a few cards short of a deck and then some. He was the one that came up with the Vigilante Registration Act. But due to the backlash of that incident in Smallville, he was discredited and dishonorably discharged. Since then he's been causing trouble ever since. He also went by the name Deathstroke. Now he had not only the Hive Academy backing him up, but a near-limitless army of androids at his disposal. Well, this has turned out to be one shitty day. Might as well wrap this up before things get hectic. Hey Slade, got a present for ya. But before he could go through hand signs, he felt a familiar presence, one that shouldn't be here. A few androids had appeared with Reika, who was battered and in chains. If you had looked closely, you could see blue runes covering the chains. The Titans tensed up. Now they had a hostage situation. Slade had finally appeared. You could feel the arrogant smirk he had. Gizmo, Jinx and Mammoth had been right behind him, bowing. Now, let's not get hasty. We wouldn't want this lovely lady here getting hurt. Like so. And to make his point, he struck Reika in the chest with the sheath of his sword, earning a scream from the kitsune, causing her to wake up and struggle. Slade struck her again, but this time in the face, causing her to be silent once more. Blood now trickled from her brow. Unless her life's that worthless to you. Now hands in the air. The Titans replied, but Superman didn't. His head was down and his hands were trembling. This idiot had the balls to go after someone precious to him, and then dangle her in front of him like he is now. Oh, this fool would pay dearly. Your 3 Academy students did well. Your praise of them wasn't regrettable, Brother Blood. A man had appeared out of a red portal. He had a white and gold robe on. The hood was down, revealing a man with gray hair and brown eyes. This was the creator of the Hive Academy. Why thank you, I aim to please. Now to collect my payment. Hand over the kitsune and I'll be on my way. This made Superman, no Naruto growl. Slade wasn't that stupid to do what he was thinking, was he? Nah, he wasn't suicidal. Crazy yes, suicidal, no. Of course, but after you're done draining her of her power, bring her back to me. I've heard that demonesses were very resilient, but a joy to break in. She should be a real treat. With that sentence, with the sheer stupidity that had came out of his mouth, Superman had left to take a break. And Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, the Nadame Kyuubi no Kitsune came out to play, or kill. Not a real difference at this point. Naruto outfit began to rip and shred as he grew. He grew until he was a 6 feet exactly tall. His clothing had changed as well. He now wore a white sleeveless haori with golden sides, red and black shoulder plates, white hamaka pants with straw sandals. His hair had grown until it was at the small of his back. It was still spiky, but now it was mostly yellow with red and black streaks. His eyes were a shiny amethyst purple, There was a white ring within the iris. His tails, all 9 of them, were just as yellow as his hair, or fur, with the tip being black. They shook violently behind his back. Fear, that's everyone felt when Naruto transformed. This was like you were going to die and there was nothing you could do about it. Fear. Like you saw a bomb about to land a few inches from you. Fear. Like the devil came to pick up your soul personally. Fear. Hell, Naruto, the closest thing to a god right about now, so no wonder everyone thought that they were going to die. He turned around, his eyes glowing with hate, malice and rage, getting the attention of the Titans. In a demonic voice he spoke. You've just signed your death warrant. Consider this crater your grave. Titans, you stay right where you are. You or T.O. take care of Brother Blood and his 3 students. Slade and his androids are mine. Dark release. Dark armory. The shadows began to rise from everything, I mean everything. They began to form weapons. Katana, spears, maces. Every melee weapon in existence. The chains that confined Reika were cut down. A portal appeared from under her and she was swept up. Next thing anyone knew, she was right in Naruto's arms. Her vision became clearer. She woke up to familiar warmth that usually covered her in the morning. She knew she was in the arms of her mate. She looked up in him, but not in the form she usually saw. No, this was his true form, his kitsune form. She only saw this form once, and she wouldn't forget it. It was the first time they had met a phantom, a one-er of what was known as the Phantom Zone, a desolate realm that the Kryptonians sent their criminals. It's also the place where the most criminally insane in the universe reside. One of them just happened to escape. When Naruto and Reika had found it, and fought it, Reika was nearly killed during the battle though. Her right arm was severed from the elbow and her skull fractured, but obviously she survived. Now don't start worrying, she isn't an 8-tailed fox for nothing. She's more of a scholar and a teacher than a fighter. That's why she got as hurt as she did. When Naruto saw her condition, well, he snapped. And he transformed. Flashback. Naruto just stared. Inconceivable thought went through his head. There he saw his sister figure, without her arm and her head cracked open. What he had forgotten to remember that she would heal over a few days. The arm that she lost was reattached as well, but will be useless for a while. But right now he didn't care. The phantom, that had possessed the body of a woman, had a knife poised at the girl's throat, ready to slice it open. She turned around, just to witness the birth of a god. Well, the closest thing to a god on this planet. Naruto's skin began to hiss. His hair grew longer and had gained a darker yellow color. Tails began to sprout out of his back. Even fox ears began to appear. He had grown at least a total foot in height. His eyes had changed color, from a perfect mix of green and blue to a dark amethyst purple. All it took was one look from Naruto, and the phantom was lifted off her feet by an unknown force. Then it happened. Red and blue balls of chakra began to form. They combined and formed a sickly purplish black orb in front of Naruto. It condensed to half the size of his body, causing him to form a crater where he stood. Reika had already begun healing. She crawled to her student crush, him picking her up in his arms. I'm sorry, I was too weak to do anything. I'm just not a fighter. I'm a general of Kyuubi's armies for Yami's sake. Why am I so weak? She began coughing up blood. Naruto's eyes had widened and then narrowed just as quick. He had summoned 2 clones and told them to deal with their enemy. Then he began healing Reika. She looked up thinking, well, it's either now or never. She had grabbed his face and crashed her lips against his. He was surprised, but did not resist and he made the kiss deeper. After they separated he asked, why? She gave him a small smile, still tired and in pain. Why shouldn't I? I mean that how one shows their lover for one another, right? You love me. She nodded and nuzzled into his chest, taking in his scent. He moved her head so that he could see her eyes. I'm not sure that what I feel for you is love or not. But I do know that I can't lose you. I can't live without you. Reika nuzzled against him again, and then fell asleep. He had dispelled one of his clones, telling the other one to get behind him and hold Reika. The orb of death that he had created was finally ready. You threatened my home, and brought harm to my family. Your life is forfeit. Menacing ball. All you could see was a bright flash and everything went white. When the dust cleared, There was nothing but his wasteland where a collection of caves used to be. Naruto, and his clone that was carrying Reika was all that was left. That day his future was set. That day, the name Kyuubi no Kitsune was born. Flashback end. Now that being had returned and for same reason, for her. He looked down at her, his eyes so fierce, but so caring at the same time. She nuzzled into his chest again, missing his warmth. He then looked up at the confused Slade and scared brother Blood. The warrior's arm went up and they shadows began acting up once more. The weapons he had made began to attack, turning more than half of the android army into spare parts. But Slade and his shadow reacted differently. They began to reform into a black and white version of him. This attack is a kicker. It brings out all of the sin that you've committed in your life and brings them to life. You will experience everything you've done to the innocent and then some. If you survive, and I mean if, you face me. Your life is now forfeit. He had let go of Reika so that she could stand by him. He then tapped her neck, causing her head to droop. Then black Yuki began to spew from her. It wrapped around her like a cocoon. After a few minutes, the energy subsided. Reika had changed, a lot. She now wore a black and purple battle kimono that was supported by a corset. She also wore thigh-length biker shorts. She was also wearing black shinobi sandals that had 3-inch heels on them. On her back was a wu dao. The blade was a jade green and the hilt, which looked like a dragon's head, was a rusty gold, her hair flowing down her back. She then opened her eyes, which were now a steel blue. She turned around and walked right to Naruto, who was sporting a big-ass toothy grin. She forcibly grabbed his neck and smashed her lips into his. When they parted you could see blood coming from Naruto's bottom lip. Why do you bite me every time we kiss? She smirked and grabbed his hand. What kind, I say, your blood is lovely. I don't think there's anyone that could like your blood more than I do. Leaf Village. Dango Shop. A woman with purple hair tied into a pineapple-like ponytail, wearing a fishnet outfit and a brown trench coat suddenly sneezed. Someone's talking about me. Oh well. Dango, my sweet Dango. Back at Jump City. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.